Hello, world. What is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte, and we are here live at the Build Studio in New York City. Our next guests are here to talk to us about their new movie, Candy Jar. The film centers on two high school students and lifelong foes who are forced to work together on their debate team in the hopes of getting into their dream colleges. Also starring in the film, you got Uzo Aduba, you got Christina Hendricks, Helen Hunt. So you know I'm not making it up when I say it has an incredible story because it's attracted one hell of a cast. I love this movie. It's on Netflix right now. It's fantastic. From the movie Candy Jar, star Sami Gayle is here, and screenwriter Chad Klitzman are here. Guys, you got to make some noise right now, please. Because this is a hell of a movie. I'm super excited to bring them out. We're going to do it in just a second. But before we do, I believe we have a quick look at the trailer. So, Luke, do me a favor, man. Let's go ahead and run that clip.
This is the Hemlock Prep Academy Debate Club.
How many members do you have?
2.
She and I.
Her and I.
Her and myself.
Him and me, myself and I.
Frankly, I've already forgotten what club you're here arguing.
Debate! This is a vehement hatred.
If we're gonna get anywhere this year, you two have got to agree on something.
I negate the cost of a college education.
College education is more important than...
relations significant.
Stop! Forget about her. You just need to focus on getting into Yale.
You'll qualify for the state tournament, and Harvard will give you a full ride.
You're the best debaters in the county. Together you could qualify for state.
Is anyone not ready? Then I negate the cost of a college education.
Why do you talk so fast when you debate?
Everyone started speaking faster to get more points.
But you can't understand what you're saying.
You can't.
You can? Nobody can.
We have no chemistry. We disagree in strategies.
No.
We have opposite routines.
No.
And I don't know how it's gonna work.
Excuse me. Do not fight with me.
This is your future, and you are going to win. We all know who is carrying this team.
I think Lona deserved it.
We should all feel that way about our kids, right? It's good to see you, Amy. Good luck to your daughter.
It's not about luck, Julia. I do things by myself. This thing where we study together, well, I don't think that's what I'm good at.
I disagree.
Of course you disagree. Disagreeing is what we do best. My whole life, I've hated you. Not because I knew you, but because I thought you hated me too.
I mean, I don't think we were ever really high schoolers. I was too busy with homework, tests, and debate.
Many extremely successful people got into their dream school, or they didn't, but all of them went on to do stuff.
Maybe it'll help me get into school, maybe it won't. I want to win.
Then let's play.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise. Sami Gayle and Chad Klitzman right here. Do it up. Guys, welcome to Build. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, and huge congratulations on this fantastic movie. And what a wonderful film you guys have made together. This is amazing. Congratulations. How are you feeling right now? Just dropped last week, right? The 27th, it came out. It's on Netflix for the world to see right now. How's it been having it out in the wild, having your film out there for people to see, people responding to it? Tell me about it.
It's been pretty incredible. We're really just a brother and a sister who have a passion for telling stories, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they get to be heard in this large of a capacity. So the fact that we're getting an audience the way we are is really just awe-inspiring and fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, when you have something drop on Netflix, you know, everyone has access to it for the most part. So, and the fact that we got global distribution is even better. So we've heard from people all across the globe, people we haven't heard from in, 10, 15 years. I went to elementary school with, who have seen this film, and not only have they seen it, but it's resonated with them. And, as a writer, there's nothing that's, more rewarding than to hear that the story, touches people when they see it, and that's been really cool to see.
Well, it is pretty cool, and it is a film that I think a lot of people are connecting with. I was looking at Twitter and social media and seeing a lot of positive feedback out there, and people really digging the flick. How long have you guys been waiting to work on something together? Because I was ignorant to the fact that you were brother and sister, and I didn't realize that. No, I saw a tweet that you put out there. It was like my brother wrote it, and I was like, wait a second, my what now? And I started digging around, and I found out you guys are brother and sister. I was like, oh my God, this is an incredible story behind the story. So tell me about that. Obviously, you've known each other for quite some time. Have you?
When she was born, I was 2 years old, and I said, I'm going to make this girl a star. And I was so happy. I was so happy to have written a role like tailor-made for her, because there's no one else that could have played this part like Sami.
Thank you. Well, I'm very lucky to have received that role. I didn't know that Chad could write. He kind of kept that a secret from myself and my family. He was studying political science at the University of Pennsylvania, and one morning when we were, I think in LA, he dropped a script on my bed and
before
said,
college, by
that
the way.
was, right,
That was between senior year of high school and first year of college.
right. But it wasn't until college that he brought me the candy jar. He had written a few other scripts before that. And I read it and immediately fell in love with it because, like Chad said, it was tailor-made for me, and we knew that we needed to get this thing on its feet and get it to the right producer, and we did.
What was it about Candy Jar that you read that versus the other scripts that you've seen from Chad before, and you were like, this is the one we got to make real?
It was good.
No, I don't think so. I thought his
Yeah.
I thought his other scripts were amazing as well. There were logistical reasons as to why this script made more sense. The first script he wrote would have needed, my agency quoted a $20 million budget, which is a huge undertaking for a first-time screenwriter. So he wrote something that was a bit more manageable. But for me, this girl, Lona Skinner, she is a debater at high school, which is something I did when I was in high school as well. But more than that, I think the role spoke to me because at this transition that she's experiencing from her teenage years to young adulthood, I think we're, as students, very concerned with meeting the expectations of others, whether it be our teachers, our parents, our peers, so concerned that we forget about fulfilling our own interests and crafting our own path, even if it means deviating from the ones that, you know, those people in our lives suggest are the right ones. And for me, as a student, I'm just graduating college now as well, I find that I'm always trying to achieve, and I need to remind myself to slow down and make sure I'm fulfilled emotionally and creatively along the way as well. And I think that's why this really spoke to me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Chad, talk about what you were drawing on, where your inspiration was coming from when you were putting this story together, and what you were thinking about, and where the inspiration came from.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so this was basically my life. I went to high school down in Florida. I was pretty active on the competitive debate circuit, and I was really, enamored by this college admissions process, this college admissions game that I think is probably a better way to describe it. And, when you spend all of your time, as Sami said, trying to, kind of walk a path that has been constructed by others for you, it's not always that fulfilling, and it can, make you kind of question why you're doing what you're doing, especially so if you, work really hard and then maybe you don't get into the school you want to get into, or you don't get that position that you really wanted. And, for me, I discovered writing at that time in my life because I was doing all this stuff academically and I was excelling academically, but I really needed like an outlet to express myself, in a way that I just couldn't, do that. I couldn't do it in the classroom. Yeah. And that's where kind of writing came into play. And just in reflecting on what writing did for me, both personally and professionally, I knew that thematically I wanted to kind of put that on the screen. And that's what the characters kind of figure out as this story progresses, the importance of just kind of taking a step back and having fun. It's a really important thing to do, something that we all kind of forget about sometimes. It's easy to forget about when you're in an environment where it can seem like your classmates or your competition, and if you just sit back and enjoy a movie, it could mean that you're not going to get in here, or this person's going to do better than you. So I wanted to kind of throw everything that I experienced personally in high school and put that back onto the big screen, because I think for me as a writer, what I want to be able to do moving forward is put onto the screen characters that I would have wanted to see on the screen growing up. Yeah. And Lona and Bennett and all the adults around them are perfect examples of the types of folks that I would have loved to see on the screen growing up. I think that oftentimes college gets kind of glamorized, and especially the admissions process when you see it on the big screen. In truth, it's a pretty difficult strenuous process, right? Sammy and I both went through it, and I wanted to depict that process honestly. So that's kind of how Candy Jar happened, and it took a while for me to be. I mean, for me, when I write, I can't write on something that's happening to me, like in real time. I need some time to reflect on it. Yeah, exactly. When I wrote Candy Jar, I was 20. I was interning in Washington, and the idea just kind of hit me, and I was in my cubicle, and I just started typing, in any free time that I had, and after a few weeks, the script was done, and we just kind of went from there. That was 4 years ago, and and now we're here, which is really exciting.
I know you just got through saying you need some time to like form perspective and think of something, but I'm going to ask you a question. What was more challenging or more frustrating, the college admissions process or getting your film made?
Wow, that is a very difficult question.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I mean, getting our film made. I mean, we are fortunate to know a lot of really great filmmakers, and you hear stories about how challenging it is to get your film made. The fact that this happened in 4 years' time is first, on my end, a testament to Sami Gayle's support of my work. And in addition to that, we were connected with an incredible producing team in Judy Cairo and Michael Simpson, who.
Most amazing.
I mean, for me, the test of great leadership is how people respond when, things aren't necessarily going your way. And, when something takes 4 years, you're going to have a lot of ups, you're going to have a lot of downs. And, no matter what, Judy and Michael were always behind this. We had a great director in Ben Shelton. So when you have all these people who have a unified vision and everyone is kind of on the same page as to the movie that you want to make, you're going to keep pushing forward. So in that sense, it was nice because everyone was on the same page. It was pretty easy to move forward. If there was a roadblock, we always figured out a way to move past it. With college admissions, unlike the film process,
If there's a roadblock.
and you can do everything right. You could have the greatest. It's like having the greatest screenplay in the world. It's like getting the greatest director in the world, and despite all of this, it still might not work out. And in that sense,
it didn't work out for both of us at the schools
yeah.
that we originally thought we wanted to go to.
Yeah, we were both rejected by our first choice school. So,
We didn't end up at bad places.
No, we did
Columbia
pretty
and
well.
Penn are.
Yeah, we did well, but
We ended up at the places we were meant to be, as they say
yeah,
in the film.
exactly. As Kathy, the guidance counselor, would say. But it's one of those things, where you have to become really comfortable with the fact that the stuff's out of your control. I think we like to do things and take actions where we feel like we're the ones who have the power. College admissions, you're really just subjecting yourself to. A lot of unknowns, and I hope this movie helps people, understand how important it is to become comfortable with the unknown and just
embrace that uncertainty in life, because it's there no matter how much we think we've planned our lives ahead of us. Sure. There's always going to be bumps in the road and things that come at us that we don't expect, and it's about becoming more comfortable with those unexpected events.
Yeah, and being resilient when those things happen.
Right, being able to sort of navigate those bumps and knowing how you as an individual navigate this kind of situation and learning that about yourself. I want to talk about some of the really, because this is a very funny movie too. We're having a very serious conversation about life and learning lessons and navigating bumps in the road, but this movie's hilarious. And one of the elements that struck me, not necessarily as a comedic element, we see a little bit in the trailer, but I, as an old individual, I was telling us in the green room, was unaware of the speed at which some debates take place. And that kind of happens in the movie, and then we get the explanation a little bit after. They go, why are they talking so fast? But if you don't know that's coming, it could be very, I was like, whoa, wait, what is this again? What is this class? And you were telling me that you guys engaged in debates, and actually I wrote down it was pretty high honor. You were like some of the top debaters nationwide, or you were 2 bids to compete at the Tournament of Champions, Sammy, is that right? All right, so no slouch, right? You guys are pretty good at it. But you were saying in the back that that style of debate wasn't necessarily the one that you specialized in, so you still had to sort of learn that and work on
forum,
that.
right?
You did guys did public forum. Talk to me about these different styles of debates. Are there other shades of debate I don't even know about?
I mean, there are so many shades of debate. I mean, we could be here for hours talking about all the different shades of debate. But competitive speech and debate also encompasses like forensics, which a lot of people don't know. And that means someone could go out and give like a 10-minute interpretation of a piece of literature. It could be dramatic. It could be humorous. So even that's included in debate. So a totally diverse set of events that one could do. But in terms of the traditional type of debate events, there's a few. Public forum is what we did together, and that's meant to appeal toward a lay judge, someone with no previous experience judging judging debate, and they can go in and adjudicate the round. Then you have two other events, Lincoln Douglas, which is more moral-based, and then policy debate, which is like a more technical version of public forum. And both of those events are geared towards judges who have some technical debate, training, so they can understand what's happening when you're going at that speed. And what we did in this movie was kind of combine what we liked in all of the events and made them into our candy jar event. And I think it works pretty well in terms of keeping the audience engaged and also kind of showing what's happening in the debate community, even a little bit in public forum, having judged some rounds recently. People like to throw out a bunch of points because the idea is that if you do that, you're increasing the likelihood that your opponents aren't going to be able to respond to everything. And as a judge, if I'm what they say, flowing the round, right? If I write down all of your points and at the end of the round there's still 4 points that your opponents never responded to, then usually I would just, as we say, extend those points across the flow. You're winning on those points because there was never a refutation to those points. So strategically, it can be advantageous to just throw out a bunch of stuff, and that's what they do in this movie, and I think it's fun to watch. To see people try to respond. And
no, it totally, it is 100% more cinematic. It is very fun to watch, but it also works very well when you sort of juxtapose that with the slower style. What was it? I wrote it down, the characters' names. I want to say it was Jasmine and Dana, right? Yeah. So talk to me about Jasmine and Dana and how you folded them into the story. After you decided on the speed, was it like, oh, what would be a cool sort of other side to this? Or talk to me about where that all came from and what their significance was.
With the Jasmine and Dana characters, that's something that's actually happening in the debate community right now. Yeah. There is a little bit of a movement to just slow down a little bit, and people have been incorporating their own personal experiences into the debate round, and that can be a really powerful thing. And as Bennett and Lona figure out pretty early on in the movie, it can also be a pretty challenging thing to refute, because how can you refute someone's personal experiences? And I think this is something that we all can kind of learn from in our own lives. It can be nice, to rely on facts, but at the same time, it's better if you have some personal, lived experiences that you can draw from and feel comfortable sharing those experiences with, other people, being a little bit vulnerable. And I think that when you do that, you're opening yourself up to some really great conversations with other folks, and it's happening a little bit in the debate community, and I think it's an important thing for Bennett and Lona to learn, and we thought it would be an interesting way to kind of just contrast the way they're operating in the movie and the way other folks can operate.
Right, because it really allows these characters to learn to talk to each other rather than at each other, sort of spitting out all of these facts.
I'm going to pivot a second because I'm curious. We talked about earlier how when you read it, Sammy, you were like, oh, this is perfect. The role's kind of written for me. It's like made for me. When you...
My brother.
right? Couldn't be better. But when you walk into a scenario like that as an actor, is it A, easier because it's written for you, or is it B, a little harder because you get in your head of like, I should be amazing at this. Am I being amazing right now? This is for me. Like, what goes on in your head when you have a role that's like handcrafted for you like that? How do you feel about something like that? And what was it like getting into that space?
It's interesting because watching the film back now, it feels like so much of my experience growing up is captured on screen. It makes me feel a little bit vulnerable, or a lot. But I really approached Lona as I would approach any other character. I may have a lot more immediate access to what she would be like because I know the world that she grew up in. I know what it's like to have that mentality of constantly wanting to achieve and forgetting to kind of slow down and cherish the human connections along the way. But I have a process that's very in-depth of going through the physicality of, the character in different situations, what the character would listen to, and those things may align with my real life, but I still treated it as if it didn't, if that makes sense. So, it stemmed all the way down to the music I would listen to going into work every day. I approached it as if I was learning everything about the character and becoming her separate from myself, even though she was so similar to myself, if that makes sense.
No, it does, but it also sounds like it's really challenging to do because it could be very easy to get lost in that gray area and like, oh, is this the character or am I just doing this because this is something I did? So it feels like as an actor, it was a challenge to sort of find that sweet spot and define the character for you.
Absolutely, but as an actor, I always compare myself to a chameleon.
Nice.
So I think it's about finding not only where there are similarities, but where there are differences, and kind of zeroing in on those. If that makes sense.
She's also being very modest, but I think it's important to note that, we shot this movie from Wednesday to Sunday for a few weeks. She was also doing Blue Bloods on Monday and Tuesday, and she also was still enrolled full-time in
At
school.
Columbia University.
Yeah,
So, I think
I have no
think there's a
idea how
little
she
method
managed.
acting.
It truly is just an incredible thing to watch, knowing all the other commitments that she had going on. She led this movie just so.
See, I think that part did make it easier though to play this character, because Lona is juggling 100 different things every day, as well. She has a board in her room that has a checklist of everything she has to get to every day, and she's just tackling it all. So to be flying across the country to shoot all these different things, to be writing papers on planes for college, to be shooting Blue Bloods, I mean, it made me feel like I was juggling all these things I wanted to achieve, which really spoke to Lona's mentality in the film.
Yeah, I can see that informing the character a little bit. just a
Slightly.
little bit. We can't go to audience Q&A just yet without first talking about the incredible cast that you guys got to work with as well. I mean, Helen Hunt's in there, Christina Hendricks, Uzo Aduba, Tom
Bergeron,
Tom Bergeron.
Love him.
There's so many amazing people that wound up in this film. Seeing your film come to life, the first one you've seen come to life in this fashion, seeing those people do that, what was it like? Tell me a little bit about that, and then I want to hear from you about working with these incredible people. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. I remember I would get emails from Judy. And I'm just, I'm on the side. I guess I don't know if I'm a full-time screenwriter on the side. I'm a law student, but I'm just finishing up at Columbia Law School. I'm working at the general counsel at JetBlue. So I'm doing all these things, and I'll get an email from Judy. Helen Hunt's going to be in the movie.
We're thinking,
it's just like a casual email. Helen Hunt. I was like,
casually on
Helen
the side.
Hunt,
are you?
And I remember when I got that. I mean, As Good as It Gets is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yes.
And I was just beside myself that she was going to be playing Kathy, the guidance counselor, and then Christina and Uzo came in. I mean, I love Orange is the New Black. Sami actually worked with Christina in a movie in 2011 called Detachment. And so it was just incredible that these folks responded to the material, and they, each brought their A game to this. When you're working on independent film, a lot of it has to just be a love for the material, because this is not a project that you're going to have a huge payday on, right? So you have to. It's really just a labor of love, and it was so rewarding to know as a writer that these incredible talents responded to the material. And of course, Sami Gayle was in it too. So and Jacob Lattimore, who's just such a phenomenal talent. Everyone needs to watch him on The Chi on Showtime. He's so incredible. So it was just great to have the two of them together. Their chemistry, just right away.
We're like family.
Yeah, I mean, we consider Jacob a brother. I mean, we were literally operating as if we were a family when we were shooting this movie.
How'd Jacob handle the debate style?
Absolutely.
He looks pretty comfortable. Yeah.
Yes. We would get up every morning and debate at each other, trying to beat each other in terms of speed.
What'd you guys debate? What were some of the topics? Would you just debate
No,
normal things?
We were reading evidence for the topic, the cost of a college education outweighs the benefits. But we would send each other recordings, trying to beat each other's speed. I mean, we had so much fun. But Jacob, just to say a little more about him, because we adore him so much, he walks into a room and he makes everyone smile, and I don't think that there are that many people that can do that in any crowd, anywhere, at any time, and that is a service to the world.
For sure. Well, he's just one of those actors, one of those performers that as soon as he shows up on screen, you're like, oh, I like this guy. He's pretty. I know he's great at what he does.
And there's such a diverse body of work too. I mean, if you watch The Chi or Slider, Collateral Beauty, and then you watch him in Candy Jar, just totally different characters, performances. He's really making some interesting, career choices.
Fantastic.
For sure.
But also, as a sister, going back to the previous question, I'm always pushing Chad's work, and I'm super passionate about it, but I'm really excited that all of these other incredible actors who I've worked with before have also been as passionate as I am, because, I don't know, as a sister, you want to see your brother achieve and be rewarded with all the success in the world. And I think that their response to the material is really a testament to his creative abilities and the beauty of his writing.
Well, that's just it, and I was kind of like alluding to that in my intro. Like when you see those names on an independent film, you know this is going to be a good movie because they, like you said, it's a passion project. These people obviously they resonated with them in some way that they felt the need to like to come and do this film. And but yeah, I just couldn't imagine being on set with all those legends. I mean, like Helen Hunt for crying out loud, was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We
felt that way too. So.
Yeah,
We did too.
I was just checking the temperature, making sure.
When she was on set, I was like, is it actually Helen? Is like her double or something?
Helen Hunt?
The Helen Hunt, and you know she did such a great job in this part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
everybody does an incredible job in this film.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys, you really do knock it out of the park. Okay, I've kept you long enough. I promised the audience they could ask some questions. We're going to turn it over to them. We've got some microphones in the room. The first one appears to be right there.
How you doing?
Hi.
Was this like being each other's family member and having the opportunity to work together? Do you see any advantages since you guys know each other for, since y'all were born?
Absolutely. I don't think anyone could really know me better than my family member.
That can be a bad thing too.
That can be a bad thing.
Disadvantages too.
Right. There are disadvantages too. You know, if you're, for example, living in the same house with a person and things aren't going well, you bring that home as well. So you're arguing. My mom often had to pacify the situation.
There were many nights when I say, Sammy, any updates on Candy Jar? What's happening with Candy Jar?
Every night as I would be entering my room to go to bed, he's like, any updates? Any updates? And I'm like, Chad, just relax. Listen to the lesson in the movie. No, but for me, having that knowledge base, Chad having that knowledge base to write a character, tailor-made for me was incredible because it really could be a vehicle where I could showcase my range as an actor, a character that was someone I also wanted to see on screen. So that was incredible. And then also, unless you're really, really close friends with the person that you're working with, it's hard to get people to be, super, super passionate about your project unless there's some kind of really personal connection. So the fact that, we're a brother-sister team and we adore each other so much really made sure that the process was not complicated with things going wrong, that we kept, driving forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. There are always pros and cons. There were definitely more pros than cons. I mean, it helps. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I had the great fortune of being, born 2 years before the greatest actress on the face of the earth would be born. So when you have someone like that in the family, it creates a lot of opportunities as a writer for you to craft really meaty parts that you already know, someone is going to be willing to play, which is really nice, nice to see. And, Sami was able to spend, all those 4 years when we were developing the project, Sami was pretty actively involved in that process and was able to consider the character's motivations, and was also able to see the character change over time as we tweaked the script, here and there. So Sami really had, from having that vantage point, I think she was able to bring a really unique perspective as an actor to the part. And if we weren't related and she had just received an offer for the movie, a month before we started shooting, I think it would have been a totally different performance. But she was able to truly embody this character just from having that relationship. So in that sense, it was really helpful. And then also, just little things. So usually the writer, like I'm a first-time writer too, so it's pretty unheard of for a first-time writer to just cast his sister in the movie. But in having that relationship, it makes it easier for her to know what my intentions, were. So, and that's a conversation that wouldn't normally happen. Sometimes writers aren't even allowed on the set, or totally, they option the script, and then, yeah. So, we're very close. So Sami was, we were very fortunate in the sense that I was able to just explicitly tell Sami what I meant when I wrote this word or what this scene was meant to convey, and Sami did it.
And I was constantly asking those questions.
Yeah.
So you don't usually have that resource available to you on other sets and projects. So
The writer sometimes isn't even there.
So you were taking full advantage. You were like,
oh my goodness. I would text Chad while he was on the subway, at work. Chad would be rewriting scenes on the fly. It was absolutely phenomenal. But I'm also just lucky that, you know, I have somebody who believes in me enough to give me the opportunity, you know, of a lifetime that he felt I needed to really change the game as I move forward in my career.
2 years apart, right? You were 2 when he was
Yes.
born. See, I can do math. When you guys
When
were
when I was born, it didn't say like on the cake, like Sammy is born. It said Chad got a sister. That's kind of how it's been. That's kind of how it's
okay,
been.
Fanta, let's go into that just really quick before we get to the next question. Then, when you were, because you guys obviously, if you work very well together, you produce something amazing together. Was it always that way when you were little? Did you have the same debates that every little brother and sister have? Did you guys?
Yeah. So when I was 4 years old, my parents got a blackboard at Costco. And it was downstairs with a little tiny table for kids next to it. And my brother, somehow, I don't know how he convinced me, but every morning he woke me up at 5 a.m. and we went downstairs to this chalkboard. And he would teach me whatever he was learning 2 years ahead. So I was learning multiplication, and I was kind of Chad's project, almost like a puppet. I mean, that's like, you know, but my whole life, you know, he has kind of continued cultivating me in that way that started when I was 4 years old, you know, acting as my agent, writing me the vehicles, you know, in scripts.
Her first job, you know, professionally, was
got it.
Gypsy. And I literally found it on the internet for her. She went on an open call, flew up to New York, and was cast in the Patti LuPone revival of Gypsy.
It's always been a joint venture.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and then she was homeschooled as well after that. You know,
One year, he like crafted my entire curriculum. He hired all of his teachers from Florida.
I don't know why she did it. I would give her homework assignments. I would write tests.
I would
for her,
take the
and
test.
she would take them. Yeah, it was very bizarre. Very bizarre.
Can I tell you something? When you started that story, I thought like some epic prank was coming down like every morning. He'd convince me to get up at 5 a.m. and then he taught me geometry. I was like, wait, what? What? You guys are absolutely adorable. I can't believe.
He believed that, you know, if you wanted to achieve things, you had to take things into your own hands, and that, you know, goes for multiplication and also for making your own movies. So.
And she was having a lot of success professionally, but unfortunately, a lot of people in this industry, you know, once they start getting some success, especially at a young age, education is kind of, you know, thrown to the wayside.
You're 2 years older than her. How were you so cognizant of that fact?
I was so hesitant.
It's not like a 40-year-old man. You know, people at this age when they get into the industry.
Yeah.
2 years.
I think I was
24 months.
Yeah, I know. I think I was born a senior citizen, but yeah, I mean, it was always really
it's
important.
Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's unbelievable. You should be very proud. You guys are just fantastic. I'm not trying to give you a hard time. It's just the world would be a better place if every older brother had that mentality. Like, God bless you, man. It's amazing. You're a really good dude. That's incredible. So
Thank you.
Good on both of you. All right, we got a few more questions out there. How many we got? We got one over here on the couch. Let's go.
Hi. I was wondering where exactly did you guys shoot? Because that school looks a bit familiar. And also,
where are you from?
New York.
New York.
Yeah.
Okay. And have you been to Georgia?
No.
Okay. Well, then
Never
the school
mind.
is not familiar.
Well, but it looks which school are you? The prep school that they go to?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was shot at Oglethorpe University, which is a really beautiful campus in Georgia, just outside of Atlanta.
Okay.
Kind of kills the second half of your question, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
What was?
I was just gonna ask, how long was the writing process for this movie?
That's a great question. You said you worked
2.5 weeks to start.
So the development process was pretty long, but this script actually was really easy to write compared to other things that I've written.
Doesn't everyone just write a script on the side while they're interning?
I mean, this script was legit. This script was done in 2.5 weeks, and I've looked at that version, you know, pretty recently, and you know the way we get to everywhere, you know, that's changed a little bit, but thematically, it's still in the exact same place it was in those very early days. It was just one of those rare moments when an idea hits you, and not only did I have the idea, because it's easy to have the idea, and I've written many just first pages of scripts that end up going no place, but this one, not only did I have the first page, but I knew exactly where it was going to go and what I needed to do along the way to get there. And that's just so rare, and when I had that, I was also, you know, I had the opportunity to be like in a formal job at the time, where I had some free time. And so I was like at the desk anyway. It was unusual when you're writing. I kind of just, I'll write here and there. I'm in bed, I'm on my phone, whatever. But here I had a desk and I had a computer, and it was like it was a very disciplined thing. And if you can knock out 5-10 pages a day in 2.5 weeks, you're going to finish a screenplay.
I don't want to get too lost in the weeds because we got one more question. We're going to do it. But how were you able to identify what needed to change, or where, like, this is the right idea, but I've got to take it someplace else. I need to develop this more. How did you know where those points were?
Yeah, I mean, so that's when you have to really find people that you trust for feedback. And we were really fortunate to be connected with incredible people, agents, managers, and then our producing team, and then the folks over at Netflix. Our producer, Michael Simpson, I remember he said on the set, filmmaking is the art of compromise. And that is so true. Yeah. And, at so many points throughout this process, you get feedback. And we're not going to agree on everything, but I think as a writer, what you have to really stick to are the themes. And if you're still good on that point, then sure, we can change the way this character does this, or maybe we want to set this scene here. And so I would say all the changes, they kind of came about as a result of that process. And I think it made the movie better that we went through that process, subjected it to feedback from a host of different people. And, even when we think the script is, in perfect shape, then, we can't get this location, or,
the actors come in and they say, can we change this line?
They want to do it this way, right? And especially when you're dealing with actors of this high, caliber, as an indie film, you want to do what you can to incentivize an actor if they're responding to the material. If it's a change that's not really that material, it might be important to me, but if thematically it's not going to affect anything, then just to get that actor involved and interested, absolutely, we'll make the alteration. So it's just all about finding the right people that you trust, and when you find those people, listening to them and just working with them to make a good product that's the result of some healthy collaboration.
Cool. Thank you. We've got time, looks like, for one more, and it's going to come from all the way back here.
Hi. My name is Bennett, and I was getting really confused during the interview because you kept saying my name.
Yeah, about you.
It's a really good name.
It's
a really good name.
Yeah.
We love it.
I picked it myself. But you guys talked a little bit earlier about navigating the college application process, and I was wondering what you guys think, like what changes do you think need to be made to that process for future college applicants?
You want to start?
Yes.
How long do we have?
Yeah, how long?
Applying to college. Go.
How long? I think that too much of an application is predicated upon the standardized tests that we take. Some people are incredibly able in different ways, either creatively, scientifically, but won't necessarily show that on a standardized exam that's timed. So I think looking more at the other things that people bring to the table, aside from the ACT, SAT score.
Yeah, I mean, I think equity is a really important thing that needs to be discussed in terms of the college admissions process. We live in a world in which applying to college is not a very equitable process. And if you break it down by race, socioeconomic status, it's just not something that everyone has the same opportunity to do. When you're subjecting people to something like the SAT or the ACT, these are exams that can be taught. And if you can afford a tutor or if you can afford test prep, you're probably going to do a lot better than someone who can't afford that. But the person who can't afford that might be better equipped to go to the university more and might also get more out of the experience than someone else. So that would be the first thing that I would say. I would say that we really need to do a much better job of ensuring that everyone has equal access to this process, because for many people, it's just literally too expensive to compete. Just the application fees, and there are some you can obviously apply for waivers, and there's various need-based programs available, but even so, there's just so many resources that aren't available to everyone, and it creates this huge gap between folks when they're applying. So that would be the first thing I would say. In addition, I think it's just really imperative that schools don't push every single person into college, because college isn't right for everyone. I think
Vocational schools.
vocational schools, trade schools. I think there's a lot of value in these places, and it would also result in people getting degrees that they can use, to get a job, where they have like a skill set that they can use, versus folks being pushed into college who, oftentimes they can tell you based on someone's numbers if they're more likely to like drop out. Like, I know this person is not going to finish. A trade school might be a better, option for them, but right now we live in a world in which schools are literally incentivized to push all of their kids into college because that's how they're ranked, that's how they're judged. Yeah. I think as a society we should really take a step back and think about what's best for the individual, not necessarily for every single person, and just be a little bit more flexible with regards to people's needs and ensure that we're equipping people with the skills that they need to succeed in the workplace. And finally, I think it's also more important than just like economics too. Like, we also need to encourage people to just have fun. Like, the college admissions process can seem like a game. You have to just rack up positions, right? But we don't value, maybe like something more creative, even if it's not something that you're doing professionally. Like, I just like to play the guitar. That's fine, and you shouldn't be penalized for spending your time doing that rather than being the president of some club you're not even interested in.
But unfortunately, because of this application environment, kids feel that they can't take the time to play the guitar, play the piano, or go dance. They have to have their eye on the prize 24 hours a day, and it's driving, the students crazy.
Yeah. Well, Chad, whatever the hell you run for, you got my vote. I've run out of time here, man. I gotta let you guys go.
You'll see.
But sincerely, congratulations on this film and everything you've achieved and everything I can tell you're going to achieve. The both of you are fantastic together. Sammy, you give an incredible performance.
Oh, thank you.
So you were wonderful, and you should be proud of this.
I had a lot of good words to say.
And I was going to say, Chad, you did.
Our favorite thing to watch is when we can subtitle the film. Because then we see
closed
Chad.
captions are my favorite part, yeah.
Right.
God damn, you guys are adorable.
He's in the movie. He has a little cameo.
I'm going to remind everybody out there one last time. It's a fantastic film. It's got an amazing cast, an amazing story, and a lot of heart and soul went into it. It's on Netflix. You got no reason not to watch it. So go check out Candy Jar. It's there right now. Make some noise, please, for Sammy and Chad over here. Come on.